Hello and welcome. You're watching NewsX. I'm Megha Sharma. Now, the disclosure of the electoral bonds has opened up a Pandora's box. There are political parties that are in a mud-slinging match, and it is a perfect opportunity for them to malign the ruling BJP in the hope to influence the voters and garner their votes in their favor. On BJP's part, their leaders have not been as vocal about this subject. Let's discuss this in greater detail in the deep dive. Why are the political parties fighting over it when none of them in reality want to disclose, continue to want to remain opaque over the funding and the donations that they receive from the various organizations, corporates and individuals? Let's start our conversation with us. Joining me on the telecast is Ruchika Agarwal, BJP spokesperson. Ruchika, I want to start this conversation with you about the disclosure that has been put out on the Election Commission's website. And it's interesting to note that some of the topmost donors are not the most high-profile industrialists or corporates in our country. Also interesting to note that there are a handful of these corporates that are under the radar of the investigative agencies who have been accused of money laundering and financial frauds. Okay, Ruchika isn't there with me, but Advocate Mahima Singh, who's the Congress spokesperson, on the telecast with me. Mahima, the question I want to get your response on is about the three political parties, one after the other, the topmost being the BJP with the largest sum of donations in its account. Then you have the TMC. Does this, and then you have the Congress. So does this come as a surprise to you that you are behind the TMC? Does this also indicate the public opinion, the sentiment of the people who perhaps are not in as much confidence of the Congress as they used to be in its performance in the elections and thereafter?
Jai, first of all, Megha, one message that this verdict has brought for all of us across the country is that वो जब कहें कि इससे देश का भला होगा, मान लेना कि सियासी वो फैसला होगा. 7 years ago, when the government brought these opaque electoral bonds in the form of the money bill on the floor of the House, it was only the Congress that fiercely questioned. And today, we stand far, far behind the first two lead players in this whole game. And the BJP stands at a 50%, a whopping 50% of the total amount received, while the Congress is at 11%. Now, the question today is, Megha, I mean, you see, TMC is not the worry today. The worry is that the Congress party's accounts, which has account which has money donated by honest taxpayers of this country, honest citizens of this country, the believers in the Congress's ideology, those accounts have been frozen. But the BJP's accounts, in spite of this verdict having established that this scheme, this whole sham of a scheme by the BJP was unconstitutional in capital words, and yet they can run free with that money, 50% of the total amount received. And the Congress party has to worry about how are we going to carry out our most basic affairs during this election. I think it is unfair. And that is the biggest question stands today, that why should the BJP's accounts not be frozen owing to the fact that the Supreme Court has rendered the whole scheme unconstitutional. Okay. And there are more questions to be asked, which I will during the course of your show.
So, Mahima, the question I want to pose to you is the pre-electoral bond era, which was largely run by the UPA government, versus the post-electoral bond era. Do you actually believe that under the UPA, the donations that were being provided by these individuals and corporates were transparent, were in public domain?
Megha, there was a system in place. It was like this, that anybody who is donating more than a certain amount has to go through a procedure. anybody can only donate so much percentage of their overall profit of the last 3 years of their company. Today, you see there are many top donators in this list who have a profit of merely 22 crores. For example, let me tell you, Quick Supply, which is amongst the top 3 donors, they have just a profit of 22 crores, but they have donated a whopping 235 crores under this scheme. So you tell me whether that mechanism, wherein it was very clear that anybody who is donating can only donate only so much percentage of their 3-year profit, the mean profit of the last 3 years, versus the scheme today where somebody can donate, tens of hundreds of times of what they are actually making profit of. Otherwise, they can even be running in loss and yet be donating actually. Many will give the argument that, but they may have other means of income and so on and so forth. Then why should that income not be investigated upon? Why should there not be an investigative agency today to match actually the IT raids and the ED raids, and then thereby
but then do you really do you think the people of the country are naive, that there can be a utopia kind of a perception that can be created by our political parties? Because this is definitely not true, that there is secret funding that comes from various agencies and corporates and organizations within the country and outside of it to political parties, opposition or those in the government, and it is not disclosed. It has never been disclosed because this is not in favor of political parties to pass such a rule, pass such a law, which is going to be detrimental to them.
Megha, naive you say? I say not at all. In fact, there's that famous Hindi song, "Ye jo public hai, ye sab janti hai." So going by that, in 2019, Mr. Rahul Gandhi challenged the Prime Minister to come out and debate on corruption. And the Prime Minister, as always, posed with the answer silence, SILENCE. That is his silence to that is his answer to everything. The funds which are unencashed go to the PM Relief Cares Fund. That's another Pandora's box which will open in the due course of time, PM Cares Relief Fund. So you say people are naive? Not at all. People know everything. And that is why we still dare, Mr. Rahul Gandhi still dares that the Prime Minister should come out in the open before the people and tell everyone.
Okay, all right. Let me get in Abhijit Iyer Mitra also into this conversation. Abhijit, you as the citizen of your country, when you see these explosive revelations coming in, where the SBI comes out with a list of these individuals and organizations and corporates who have given out this large amounts of funds, and you see that the BJP has gotten about 6,000 crore rupees, and then you have TMC, and then you have lagging behind the Congress and other political parties. What is the perception that you get face value?
So I don't know what's explosive about it, because all it is proof of electoral funding, which used to happen with zero transparency before. Nobody knew who donated to which party. Sure, there was a process, but there was no process of transparency. Did you know who was giving anybody any money? No, you didn't. It didn't happen till an investigation happened. This was first to paperize it, to paper trail it, so to say, electronic trail, paper trail, whatever. Second, it is precisely because of it that today, for the first time in Indian history, we're finding out who funded who. Let's be clear about that. And also note, when you ask about transparency, suddenly the goalpost then suddenly shifts to process. There was a process in place, but there was no transparency in place. Second, we have proof of enormous political funding, which we always knew happened. So what? Our parties run on charity. They are funded, of course. Now, the allegation is of corruption. What this proves is that there was funding. Where is the corruption? Corruption or extortion, as the case may be. Because, if the allegation is that ED is used and then somebody pays money, that is an allegation of extortion. That has to be proved. Today, you can prove it. You can literally, anybody can go to court and say, well, this is cause, this is effect. You'll see if ED has been given orders, or you can even see it in ED documents if there's a go slow or whatever happening on the case, where attention on the case has been diverted, etc., etc. Second, I'm not particular. The one that surprises me is the TMC, and I'll tell you why. The BJP rules 18 states today. The Congress rules 3 states. The TMC and the DMK rule 1 state each. If you break down that funding, the BJP per state funding is less, significantly less than the TMC or the DMK. Half of the DMK, and the TMC is like 4 or 5 times that of the, 2-3 times that of the DMK.
Okay.
Bengal, which is a state that is lagging, has such enormous resources to fund the TMC, and the DMK, single state parties getting such a huge amount is incredible. You actually put this on a per capita basis, per state basis, it's right at the bottom. This is plain statistics. I mean, it's shocking that this has to be explained. But, if you have greater catchment, you have greater catch, pretty much. The bigger the net, the bigger the income.
Okay. All right. A.K. Mishra is a political analyst joining me on the telecast. I also have with me Ruchika Agarwal, BJP spokesperson. And Ruchika, quickly coming to you with regards to how do you view this situation? Obviously, the promise that is guaranteed to the person who is donating this fund is that his secrecy will be maintained. And does this look as if it is a breach of trust after the revelations that have been made in terms of the disclosures?
Namaskar, Vande Mataram, my Ram Ram to everyone. See, Megha, this is when Modi ji came into power, the first thing he said was, भ्रष्टाचार के खिलाफ मैं जंग करूंगा, ना खाऊंगा ना खाने दूंगा. And that is what he again said in 2019, भ्रष्टाचार के खिलाफ जंग जारी रही. And this is what he is actually going ahead with. Before, earlier, when Congress was in power, there was the trend of cash deposits, cash funding, cash donations. Was it fair? It wasn't. It was only BJP who actually got the transparency in, who actually got the electoral bond system and the digitalization and everything in place, what we can see now. And I don't actually think, I don't see any controversy or any big revolution in this particular thing that we're talking about. It is a request from the Supreme Court to the SBI to give the name of the people who've given the donation to various parties. And if you see...
No, because the Supreme Court has not just said that you need to be disclosing every single detail of the donations that have been made to which political parties that have been made, but the Supreme Court has come down heavily on the government as well, calling the law of electoral bonds to be unconstitutional. It has also gone about saying that the amounts that have been allocated to these political parties will have to be reverted to the donors, to the funders.
See, BJP always believe in transparency, and this is what we agree to it right now also. If Supreme Court has given an instruction, and that would be followed. No doubt about that. The only thing is, in BJP being the ruling party in so many states as of now, it's a national party. The amount received by BJP is much, much lesser in comparison to the amount received by other parties. If you talk about Congress, if you talk about TMC and the other aligned parties of the ... alliance, in spite of them being only in particular states. So we need to compare that amount also. Why
okay,
are
that's the same point that Abhijit was also making over here. But my larger question being, I would like to say that are we living in a utopian world, or this is what the political parties would make us believe, that there are the biggest corporates of our country, whether it is the Tatas, the Ambanis, the Adanis, you talk about the Birlas, are they not providing funds to the political parties? I mean, is that even a possibility? Why do you think across the world there is not a single country which sees transparency in the funds that are then donated to the political parties to fight the election? Does this also mean that the political parties are not in favor of having a transparent process of telling people, revealing the sources of the funding and the donation that they receive? And when the political parties are not in favor of this, whether in the opposition or in the government, there is no way that there can be a law that can be passed which is going to be in the welfare, in favor for the people of the country to know exactly what happens behind closed doors. A.K. Mishra, this question to you.
One thing, whatever the logics are going on media and all these, my feeling and my practical experience that implementing some such kind of the system, taking the political chanda via electoral bond, it was one of the best movement of BJP government. Right now, see why and how. When some such kind of the system was not there, political
no,
chanda,
you need to answer my question. What I'm asking you over here is, yes, there are proponents of this particular electoral bond process. The BJP spokesperson is talking highly about it, but what I want to understand from you, A.K. Mishra, is that is this really a kind of mirage that is being created, which has been created for the past, for ever since the time began and the elections and the democracy came into being in our world, that there have been no checks and balances that have been put in place, and the people of the country, people of the world have been not provided in a transparent way how the funding takes place. So when you talk about the BJP or the Congress or the TMC in our country, or when we are talking about the Democrats and the Conservatives and the Labour parties in the United States and United Kingdom, it's the same process that is followed by politicians and political parties, whichever country you go to.
I got your question. In our parliament, as per law, there are so many provisions that what thing government have to disclose or what thing not have to disclose. Legally, all the, you can say the political party, they are responsible to show all these data only to the election commission as per law. And of course, any party which is registered with election commission on quarterly basis, on monthly basis, on annual basis, a balance sheet, check and balance is there. That's why this is the reason case is pending, case is going on in Supreme Court, but the data and detail is provided by the election commission, not the RBI. So saying, raising a question about the privacy, I think within the limit of law, or you can say the lawful procedure, of course, prima facie, there was the transparency, whatever the authority it was needed, they were well known that which party is going to get how much fund from which company or which person. This is one thing. And second important thing, all the transactions nearly it is not, you can say that it is cashless, digital. So government is also knowing. What I think you use the term mirage. Of course, it is a mirage by the opposition. Their main objection is in hidden way that why BJP got a major chunk, why not TMC, why not Congress? Congress is already suffering from the huge fund crisis. That's why they are crying for this question. The question comes.
No, but the Congress is also raising questions that why have their accounts been frozen? Why are they not able to access their funds?
From the perspective of society, whatever I was going to answer, just this point is very valid. You take the example of Bengal, Calcutta, it was the first metro city, first industrial city developed. What within 30 to 40 years, what Marxwadi, Communist as well as TMC government, anybody saying that I am the representative of Mamta Didi or RJD Lalu Yadav, he has demanded that much type of the, you can say the cash donation you give. So criminalization started. Any criminal, a small criminal, he was just going to, on a phone call, he was just going to collect the huge donation and they vanished, they destroyed.
Let's not, let's not at this point of time blame one political party and give a clean chit to another.
No, not one political party.
Keeping in mind that they are all our political parties, they all are politicians, they all are vying to win the elections, and for winning elections you need funds. And for winning elections, there are going to be legitimate ways and illegitimate ways where funds are collected and utilized. And Advocate Mahima, if the electoral bonds is not the right way to go about ensuring transparency for the public to know where the funds came from, where the funds went, then, and when we talk about the procedure, the process that was implemented, that went through since 1947 up until 2014, where the UPA rule was largely encompassing the way the current dispensation, the current way of affairs functioned, how is then going to be the next step for political parties to come together and find an alternative to electoral bonds and pre-electoral bonds era, for the people to ensure, to be told that this is a transparent, free, biased way of telling you that this is exactly how funds are distributed, funds are provided, funds are sent to the parties.
I'll come to your very pertinent question, Megha. But before that, I'd been raising my hand for quite some time. I heard one official spokesperson and two unofficial spokespersons of the BJP very patiently. I hope they will do the same. And you will allow me a fair opportunity to do that. Now, the BJP spokesperson, when she said the Supreme Court had requested, I am very sure that she has not paid attention to, or this is yet another attempt to sabotage the perception, as the BJP does all the time. Request by the Supreme Court, although you rightly corrected that it was a heavy showdown between the government and the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court came down heavily on the government. The Supreme Court said it is unconstitutional. Please write that in bold and capital. This is what I'm saying to the BJP spokesperson. Unconstitutional is what the BJP has subjected this country over the last 7 years in the form of that scheme. Now, coming to what was said earlier about the money was always given and it is still being given, but in a different manner. It's about the proportions, and I'll come to your question and I'll explain better. But you are asking me about, see, the BJP spokesperson, I'm thankful to her. She also brought what I did not. Na khaunga na khane dunga. अभी तो भाजपा गाना गा रही थी, पर्दे में रहने दो, पर्दा ना उठाओ, पर्दा जो उठ गया तो खेल खुल जाएगा. Because you see, the SBI that reports into the finance minister, when they requested the Supreme Court, frivolously so, that they will only divulge the details by the 30th of June, was acting at the behest of the government, very much so. And we saw the BJP tried every attempt. They were running pillar to post to conceal this information. However, they couldn't, and it is all out and about now before the public. Now, coming to your question.
At this point, if you're saying that Congress is holier than thou and they have never received any funding whatsoever from corporates and businesses, and it is only the BJP who has been receiving them. But again, the question that I raise over here, Mahima, would be that yes, there has been revelation, there has been disclosure that has been made right now that BJP has received this amount of funding. But what is wrong in that? This is a transparent way of actually receiving the funds. So where is the proof that this funding is actually a corrupt way of getting the money?
If you would allow me to complete my thought, as I was saying, I am going to answer your question now. Transparency. The word can be explained by our intention. Congress's intention can be explained by the fact it is us who brought the right to information, and it is the BJP that is sabotaging that law, squarely today. And you're asking me what was happening before the 2014. Whatever was happening, Megha, but it is the BJP that won in 2014. So you can imagine, if at all there was black money in place, if at all, then the BJP was the highest beneficiary of that, because the BJP spent the most amount of money on their campaigns during that year, and I think it is on record. So you see, if you're asking today that it is not only the BJP that is gaining money out of electoral bonds, it is everybody, and so why the hue and cry? I said in the beginning of your show, BJP stands at 50% of the share of the total bonds, whereas...
but then that goes on to say that businesses and corporates and individuals in our country are more... They have more confidence in the BJP to run the government and to win the elections.
96.7% of the donors are businesses, are corporates. Only 3% of individuals. And you can see that,
So this is the point of conjecture right now. You're saying that the corporates have been giving funds to BJP allegedly because there is a quid pro quo that they are at this point of time expecting out of the government. This is a conjecture, this is an allegation. There has to be more investigation that needs to be done to be able to prove it for sure. For sure.
Megha, when did I say that? I am saying
I'm missing the point. But I'm missing the point over here. If there are funds that have been given to the BJP, which are more in percentage, the chunk is larger versus the TMC, Congress and other political parties. What is the problem? What is the problem? Where is the problem?
Megha, the Congress is demanding an investigation by the Supreme Court into the links between the IT raids, ED raids and the donations. In fact, I can just give you, for your reference, I can just give you, 4 data points. Megha Engineering, bought bonds on April 2023, got the contract on May 2023, all by union government. Serum Institute of India bought bonds on August 2022, got contract on August 2022. Torrent Power bought bonds on January 2024, got the contract on March 2024. And the last one I'm going to state right now, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Wonder Cement, November 2023, they buy bonds, and January 2024, they get the contracts.
Okay.
This is just of the iceberg at the Supreme
Fair
Court.
enough. Okay, you made your point. Look, I have very little time. Abhijit, 15 seconds before I wrap this up.
Here's the point of assuming that all the funding is corrupt. The highest Congress intake happens after May 2023 when they win the Karnataka election. Till then, they had 380 odd crores, and suddenly from 380 odd crores within 9 months, they get about 1,100 crores. So if that is the measure of corruption that we're using, where funding is corruption, then I think in terms of the propensity to be corrupt, the INC is far worse than the BJP if you look at the funding periods of growth.
Okay, all right. On that note, there's a lot of food for thought. I see some hands raised. Ruchika, yes, quickly.
Whether Rahulji would having Megha, I was just wondering whether Rahulji is able to sleep these days or not, because the only thing that he's been talking about and cribbing about just 2 names in the last so many years, and those 2 names were actually missing from the list of the donors. So is he getting sleepless nights these days or not, that I have been aiming at the wrong people since last few years, because the only name that he's been taking about...
But that's the question that I'm asking. It is impossible that the big corporates in our country are not funding political parties. I'm saying the small fish have been caught with the list that has been released. The sharks in the water, in the sea at this point in time are still in secret providing funding. It's impossible to believe for the country and the countrymen that there is no funding whatsoever that happens behind closed doors. I'm out of time. I thank all of you for joining me on the telecast. Thanks for watching.